Active Investor here, bringing you another independent analysis. This time we're taking a look at Apple Incorporated. So Apple recently had a huge selling off due to that bad news that Carl Icahn was no longer a shareholder of Apple. So that's rather unfortunate. You can see we had that huge red candle when that news came out. The price tried to retrace up a little bit, but just got denied. And then during the market, it recovered a bit. But the last few days, it has just continued to go down. Even today, it went down at a much lesser extent, though. Now, there's some really interesting price movement I'd like to show you guys regarding the after hours and pre-market. So let's just highlight that. Highlight each after hours and pre-market zone. And you guys will see what I'm talking about very soon once we have these all plotted out. All right, so if you guys take a look, you can see that aside from this first day that we have here when the news was released, obviously there was some major selling off there. Aside from that, though, each after hours and pre-market area is mostly where we went overbought. You see that we were overbought here pretty much the entire day, but almost half of that was during the after hours. Then over here we went overbought slightly. And then over here, almost the entire after hours and pre-market, we were overbought. And that was starting to change today. So that trend is starting to change today. But what does that mean that we're going overbought in after hours and pre-market? Well, that's telling me that there's a lot of market makers moving a lot after hours and pre-market. They're really moving the price a lot, because that whole time we're in our overbought area. Now, the overbought area is normally where we're going to be bullish on the longer time frames like this. That's normally when we see the price increasing. However, it's like they are just really fighting each other. People are selling and buying, and the overbought area isn't really pushing up much. Normally, sometimes we'll see some heavy runs while we're overbought on the longer frames. That's just not occurring here. As a matter of fact, you can see that we have some more selling off while we're overbought during that after hours and pre-market. And then when the market actually opens up, that's when we're going to oversold, and there's not really too much bullish price action going on due to the fact that we were already overbought during the pre-market and after hours. So basically what I'm getting at is that there is a little bit of market makers manipulating the stock behind the scenes. Obviously, us retail traders, we don't mess around too much with the after hours and pre-market trading, but these more institutional traders will absolutely be trading after hours and pre-market. They don't mind those heavy fees and whatnot at all. So just keep that in mind, that there's some interesting movement going on after hours and pre-market on Apple. However, today, that trend was starting to really kind of end, because if you take a look, we went overbought here. We really had both lines here going overbought. And that occurred well during the market hours, towards the end of the day, but still well in the market hours, not the after hour period. So that could be a good sign that our regular retail traders are starting to show more interest in Apple. A lot of retail traders, were getting rid of their shares when they heard that news about Carl Icahn as well, and just following the overall markets. But it looks like some of the retail traders are starting to realize that Apple, for the long term, it's still a very powerful company. If you take a look at their financial statements, their SEC filings, still a very, very powerful company. One of the most powerful public companies in existence, even without Carl Icahn being a shareholder. Still a very powerful company, very strong fundamentally. So I think the market overreacted a little bit. Now this gives us a potential gap up play to about $105 from the low 90s that we're at now, and that would be a huge gap up. It's going to take a lot of buying pressure to get up there, but it is possible. All it would really take is some good news to send that gap to become filled. Now, one other thing to take a look at is the space between the cloud. You can see as we had that major selling off, there was a ton of space between the cloud and our candles, and that space has just been kind of lowering ever since. Candles and the cloud space is becoming less of a gap, and that's indicating that the downtrend is weakening. The more space we have between the candle and the cloud, the stronger that trend is. So as this space closes up, we will see the downtrend weaken, and hopefully that uptrend begin. If you're long on Apple, you want to see that, obviously. One other thing to take a look at is the space between the orange Kijun line and the blue Tenkan line. And blue is bullish, the orange is bearish. Now, as we had a lot of space here, you can see that we didn't have much bullish price movement. Here, there was still a pretty large amount of space, and there wasn't much bullish price movement. But here, the space is almost entirely covered, and actually right around this area the space was covered, and we did go up a little bit. You know, we went from about $93 touching to about $94 almost, so we saw a little bit of an increase, but it wasn't too much, and the Kaijin line did prevail, stayed on top of the Tenkan line, which is unfortunate. While they were touching, there was a chance that we saw a Tenkan cross, and the Tenkan cross is always a really bullish sign. To a lesser extent while it's under the cloud. If you see a Tenkan cross above the cloud, that's really bullish. To a lesser extent under the cloud, like I just said, but it's still a bullish sign, so it's unfortunate that that bullish sign didn't happen. The Kaijin did stay on top of the Tenkan, but we could see that cross try to happen again even tomorrow. Very short term, we could see that trying to push back up. So overall, Apple is starting to look more and more bullish to me every single day. That's what I'm getting at. It's a great company fundamentally, and I think the selling off was a little excessive. I would, if I wasn't trying to keep all my capital free for day trades and swing trades, just my personal strategy, if I was more of a buy and hold type person, I would be grabbing up Apple shares right now at this price. Because you don't get a big price decrease like that often where you can snatch up a heavily strong fundamentally blue chip company at such a low price. Anyway, that's my thoughts on Apple. The downtrend's starting to look weaker and weaker to me, and I could see it starting to leg up in the next few days. But we will have some resistance at about $96, and then more heavy resistance at about $100. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, guys, I know this video was a little bit different than the ones I normally bring because the analysis was so different regarding this Apple news. But that's my overall sentiments, is that this downtrend is indeed weakening, and we should start to see the price to move up in the short term and hopefully in the next few days. Anyway, if that helps, please give a like. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll be happy to answer them, and I hope this video helped you out. Catch you later.